dude, this is bass fishing. This is bass fishing. It's the best thing in the world. And you would think you just see these the hateful people that go away. Just go away. What must you be like at a party?
Oh, buckle up, humpers, because we talk about, well, just about everything this week. We are joined by Bass Fishing Hall of Famer, legendary Bassmaster colored commentator, the host of Zona's Awesome Fishing Show, co-host of the TNZ podcast, The Z Train, my brother from another mother, Mark Zona, joins me this week on...
I'm Bob Cobb for the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
Welcome one, welcome all, friends, family, freeloaders, fishing freaks, and of course you, my humpers. Happy hump day to all of you, and welcome into the Awkwardly Honest Fishing Podcast that goes by my last name, which is Mercer. This is the 245th edition of the Mercer Podcast, and I hope wherever you're watching or listening from, that life is treating you well. Clearly, you can see I am no longer in the sunny South. Gosh, it was so nice down in Florida. It was wonderful. I mean, they had a cold front while we were there the last day or so that we were there, and people were like, "It's so cold," and it wasn't. It wasn't, because I'm home now, and this is real cold. And you would think a little time away from winter would make winter more tolerable. But I'm here to let you know it doesn't. It doesn't. I think it made me hate it more. But hey, we had a wonderful time. Family time is key in life, and it was a wonderful trip. And as all good trips are, it was too short because it was a good trip. If I got home from a vacation, I said, well, that was the right length, then it probably wasn't a very good trip. But yeah, so good news is the Elite Series kicks off in a couple of weeks, and in Gunnersville, and I'm sure it will be balmy. No, it's not going to be, is it? I mean, I like that we changed the schedule, but I am going to miss the Florida swing because a big part of the advantage of me having that job is it's a reprieve from the weather that I surround myself with. A big show here this week. And speaking of a reprieve, if you want a reprieve from the weather, if you're in the Toronto area, I'm going to be at the Toronto Boat Show this Saturday from 10 till 1 in the Yamaha booth. Swing by and say hello. It's always a fun time because it's not a crazy fishing crowd there. I mean, there's a bunch of fishing stuff there, but it's not. I get to spend more time with the people that swing by. So come by, keep me company. I think. For a guy who speaks for a living, I should probably be better at speaking. But come by, hang out with me in the Yamaha booth this Saturday. If I was more professional, I'd be prepared with the date. But I have a device that's going to give me that date right now. And you won't even notice that I've still stalled for time. Come by this Saturday, the 24th of January, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Yamaha booth at the Toronto International Boat Show. I hope to see you there. Sad news before we get into this week's show. Kind of came out last week before, right around when we were releasing the show. We lost Dion Hibdon. Dion Hibdon passed away, the great Dion Hibdon, former Classic champion. Both him and his father, Guido Hibdon, are Bassmaster Classic champions, and the world lost a good one. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Dion's family and everybody that was lucky enough to know him. He was a great, great man, and sad to hear of his passing, but couldn't go on with this show without giving a special shout out to everybody connected to Dion Hibdon. But we got a good one here this week. The title is No Zona Unfiltered. No notes, no plan, no apologies. Ironically, I made a note to make sure I said that right. But that is the best title for this because we cover a lot of stuff. We go in a lot of different directions, and it's a fun conversation. But before we get to that, real quickly, I want to remind you every single Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, we release a new Facts of Fishing episode. So make sure you check that out. We've been doing that the last few weeks, each and every Monday at 6 p.m. So make sure you swing by YouTube and check that out. The new episodes of Facts of Fishing are also rolling out on Outdoor Channel and Sportsnet 360. So make sure you're checking that out. And I would appreciate it. Now that I have promoted my appearances, promoted the show, let's get into what you came here for. Without further ado, let's hook up with the one and only Z-Train, Mark Zona. Z-Train, I mean,
Yes.
we booked this before what happened this past weekend. How are you doing?
Dave, you being a Chiefs fan, and I didn't know the feeling that Chiefs Kingdom, I think that's what you guys call it. I didn't
Yes.
know the feeling. Just to get a little taste of it, I think we have a unbelievable quarterback. Said me never. Yeah. Hey, listen, Sunday night was the best, worst, most awesome, awful evening ever. Um, but I'm riding with it. And here's the biggest thing, Dave, and I love this. Ben Johnson is an ass. I mean, he really is one. Like, so he fits in so perfect with the city of Chicago and that fan base. Like, I literally said that to Mike McInnes. I'm like, wow, we got a total D-bag as a head coach, and I love it.
It was an emotional roller coaster because obviously, my whole family is cheering for your Bears just simply because, dude, I've said this to you for years. If one, there's a few. I mean, the Lions deserve it.
They do.
The
100%.
Bills.
The Bills.
Oh God. Oh my. Dude, like that.
Brutal.
But the Bears, I mean, you guys deserve it. So we, loving all you guys, we've become Bears fans because we don't have a team to cheer for. And dude, the emotional roller coaster. You're like, okay, they won a game. It's okay. But dude, that throw
It was nonstop
at the very end, like I'm like. That, I mean, as a guy who has been lucky enough to watch Patrick Mahomes, that is one of the greatest throws I've ever seen.
And Dave, there have been a dozen this season where you know this, you just go, whoa. Well, that is, and then he'll miss a 3-yard pass on a screen. Anyway, here's what I can say. I truly do believe within the next 2 or 3 years, and you also know this side of it, I believe that coach and that quarterback will be the villain of the NFL within the next 2 years.
It happens quick. So quick.
Does.
People
It
are
does.
like, I hate
like
you.
Dave, I really was happy for you and McInnes and everybody. Like when you won after the first Super Bowl, I was done. I was done with the Chiefs.
And it's weird because when your team wins, you're not. Like you win one. I mean, it's so funny because we insert ourselves like they even know who we are.
Right.
But
no, I will tell you, I direct message Caleb Williams every single day. He never responds, but I message him all the time. And listen, I've messaged him so many times. Like yesterday, I think I just messaged, but we're on vacation, so I had a cocktail. I think I was like, Caleb, what up? Like that's all I put. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
It's off to a great start. We've talked a lot of football. People have already turned it off. One last football question. Do you think, I mean, this is hard to judge because it's in retrospect. Was there any part of you that thought maybe they should have gone for 2?
Oh, yes. Yeah, because that, I mean,
That's how they played all year.
I was stunned they didn't. I was
Yeah.
stunned they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they had them, dude. They had them demoralized. And then when it went to overtime, I was like, I didn't like that, but whatever. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fine.
House money,
It's
man.
fine.
House money. House
yeah.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. New, who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl?
Oh, I'm going to go Seattle.
Yeah.
It's going to be somebody on the NFC side. But it's weird. Sam Darnold, he will turn into Sam Darnold before this is all over.
God, imagine being a Vikings fan right now. Sam Sobey. Sorry.
Brutal.
We got rid of him.
9.
We don't need him.
Let's hang on to 9.
So, Z, new season about to start, and not just for Bassmaster. You got I find it humorous as a friend that like 5 years ago when I started podcasting, every time I talked to you, you would literally say, I don't know if you remember saying this to me. You'd be like, what are you doing? You podding? You podding? And now you have not one podcast, which I love, the TNZ show with Tommy Sanders. You're starting a freaking other one, the Zcast.
Zcast. And here's what Zcast is. You ready, Dave? Zcast is fishing nothingness. It is basically, here's a lot. It's going to be everything, but a lot of it is very how-to-ish. I mean, we both have this vault of content. Yeah, and it's great. It's on my outdoor TV. It's on Outdoor Channel and stuff like that. But I do take for granted. And look, I'm like everybody that watches this podcast, dude. I just want to see fish catches.
Yeah,
I just want to see fish catches. One of the problems, and I'm bouncing all over. Zcast is going to be everything. Like I might do a Mercer style where I interview Seth just because I like Seth. You know what I mean? It's going to be everything about fishing. And the other side of it, and I talked to Karen about this, is I take for granted, you do too, that everybody gets the Mercer show, the Zona show. There's a lot of people that have never seen some of the content that we do that's on OSG. You know what I mean? And the other thing that I'm going to be able to do, and I wouldn't even say, Dave, because I sent you one or two of them, I wouldn't even say it's a podcast. It's more of a show. It's more of a show. Like, it's not something you would walk down the road and listen. Like, you listen to your podcast. This is way more eye candy, fish hitting frogs and skipping jigs under boat docks. That's what this is.
Oh, people like that. People like to watch that.
They do. And the other thing is, if you take out the commercials, our show only has 20 minutes of content. And I still get blasted to this day of people wanting way more nuts, bolts, how to. You're only able to get so much of it in a 20-minute show. I can dive in on doing that now.
Cool. So will it coincide with your show or not at all? Like,
not at all.
Not at all.
Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, and here's and Dave, you've been a guest on my show several times. My show is going to be like this. Zcast is no direction. There's no direction. Do not know where we're headed. I don't know what road we're going down. But and that's kind of how my career's gone. It's weird. I just said this to Karen. I hate, like I'm down in Florida and going to be taping next week. I hate planning. You know this, Dave. I'd rather look at the weather tomorrow and go, we're going, instead of, hey, we're going to tape in 3 weeks. That is a recipe for a disaster.
Yeah.
It is. But I like our odds for next week. I'm not going to lie. I'll send you a pic.
I'm sure you'll catch them.
Well, it'll be fun.
Do you think that this, no direction, do you think that that's Do you think that's just out of necessity because that's literally how your brain works? I mean, I feel like it is on my part. Like, I feel like we produce our show the same way, where we don't, like, my production guys are forever telling me we need to make storyboards and do all this different stuff where we, the formula of a show. And I'm like, nah, that it's the formula of our show is just we go fishing. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, when we show kind of whatever. But I also feel like that's how my brain, like, I have to work on a show like that, because if you put me in a box, I have a hard time. Like, structure is not good.
Structure. Yeah. On and off the water.
Yeah.
On and off the water. Here's what I've learned about fishing content. At least what my recipe is. Have a plan, but boy, make it a very loose plan.
Yeah.
It's funny. I told Kevin when he started his fishing show, I said, don't plan. Don't ever. You can try to plan, but don't plan. Look, and you know this. Whether you're talking a fishing show, whether you're talking a tournament, or just your day off this next Saturday, our number one enemy or ally is Mother Nature. It is Mother Nature is just like the Bears game on Sunday night. It is your best friend and your worst enemy all at the same time. And you know this, Dave. I'm a weather freak. To try to set up to. And what's funny was this 2026 season of Zona Show is the first time in my career I could hyper focus on certain weather patterns throughout my taping areas, whether it was New York or Iowa or and not doing Bassmaster Live. I was able to do that for the first time in my career. It's amazing how much easier it is to tape a fishing show when you're looking at correct weather patterns instead of leaving studio and going, damn it, I got to go tape a fishing show some way, somehow, shape or form. The more you're able to actually plan, the better the product ends up at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great season, and I've enjoyed your show so far.
Thank you.
But before we leave this new Zcast, where can we see this? When can we see this? How often can we see this?
We're going to crank it off in a couple weeks. I think actually like 2 weeks from the first week of February. Okay. YouTube, Spotify, the places the kids are at. The places all the kids are at. But I don't know. I think we have like 6 or 8 of them in the can right now. So I'm just going to go. I think we're going to go every week or every couple. I don't know. Karen said every 2 weeks. We don't have a plan.
So the theory is catch it while you can, because first week of February.
Right. In anything I do, Dave, catch it while you can.
Speaking of that, I got to ask you, why did you step away from Zona Live? Because that was so successful.
It was so successful. It was the biggest headache. I remember one of your dude lives down the road, Bob Azumi. I was riding on a bus with him when we were doing Zona Live. And Zona Live, you're right, it was tremendously successful, very, very challenging. And I remember Bob Azumi saying to me, I only tune in to see you mess up because you're going to mess up. Right? I will tell you what probably the biggest challenge. You better be on them. And we were lucky in the Zona Lives that I did. I did my homework, but you had to be on them in a controlled environment. Here's what you can't do and I learned this on Zona Live. You can't go to Lake Gunnersville and you're down in, I don't know, All Reds or Seabold Creek and go, hey, we're going to run up to Goose Pond. No. You being live, you can only run like a commercial time length, like, hey, we're going to go 200 yards. Um, th- I'll tell you one of the biggest, to this day, like the one with Van Damme, and I did one with Seth, and I cut his hair. But the one most frustrating thing ever, to this day, it burns me, Dave. You had to be on a school of fish with good cell service. Okay,
Yeah.
that was the big. That is the biggest. That was um, the biggest pain. I remember being on a school, one of those schools on St. Clair that I don't know how many was there. It was back before forward-facing sonar. There was hundreds, big ones, and it was 200 yards away from good cell service. It sucks. And I remember doing a live on St. Clair, and I was just staring, and I was like, they're 200 yards right there just waiting, and I couldn't do it. And I would get close to it, and all of a sudden McKinnis would be in my ear, and he's like, hey, bad service, get back to where you're at. I'm like, and the pot of gold is right over there. They were fun. They were very, very, very stressful, though. Very stressful.
I don't know that you're designed for that, to be honest. Like, I've shot shows with you, and it doesn't matter where. I don't know where you're shooting next week, but I can guarantee you, whenever your crew wakes up, if they look out the window, you'll already be in your boat. And
Yes.
like you are a pent up energy. But one of my favorite ones ever was that St. Clair show with Jordan. Like, to me, it was because I'm watching it as your friend, and St. Clair was on fire on that weekend. We had covered an event, and I'm like, this is going to be great. And I'm watching you and Jordan, and dude, it's just not happening. And I'm at home, like I'm at home. Really, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is crashing and burning. And then he hooks that sturgeon and everything changes. Like, that sturgeon was the greatest. Like, it was to steal the term, must-see TV. You could not look away because you're like, I want to see how this ends.
Yeah. And we were burning. We were burning. It was a dumpster. It was an S show. It was an S show, is what it was. And when he hooked it, we went to commercial break, and I said, "You fight that thing for everything it's worth, brother. We're no hurry, no hurry."
Because all of the great things that your mind makes happen. I mean, and I love them. I mean, I'm a huge fan. Him wearing the cape, him wearing the crown. It was all wonderful. But when you're not catching them,
it's not wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of like Conor McGregor was really awesome when he was knocking everybody out. All those lines seemed funny. They just don't seem as funny anymore.
Right.
But when he hooked that sturgeon, it was incredible.
I will tell you, Dave, the one that I shot with Van Damme, we've never replicated for what we did in Michigan. To the biggest stringer of largemouth that we've ever caught, to do that together and on a goofy little live show, like, we got done. And Kevin's a very hard fisherman to shop for, right? He is. And I remember before it, I called him and I said, "Hey, we're going here and we're going to do," and he goes, "That lake sucks." And he go, and well, I don't need to hear that the day before. I don't, and this is exactly what he said. He was in it. He was in his truck coming back from Toledo Bend, and he goes, "Whatever, it's your deal. I guess I'll be there." And I was like, but we talk like that to each other pretty much all the time now.
Yeah. The Seth Feider shaving of the head, the cutting of the hair, where did that, how did that come up?
So we were driving in Minneapolis, and Seth goes, "Z, I got a question for you." And he goes, "Are you good at cutting hair?" I'm like, "No, I'm great at it." I said, dude, I went to school for it. And he goes, are you kidding me? I'm like, I went to 3 years of, I don't know, I made up some word, I don't know, beautician school. And he's like, this is awesome. I said, can I cut it on, can I cut it on a live show? And he's like, hell yeah. He got me back. Hey, he got me back in a big way. He got me back. And the worst thing, so he did a Friar Tuck.
Yeah.
He did a Friar Tuck, and it did not connect, Dave, that he gave me the Friar Tuck on a Friday of Father's Day weekend, and we were going out to a big family dinner, and I looked like that. I walked in the house, and Karen looked at me, and she's like, really? Really? You're 45 years old, and this is what we're doing?
To me, that's a sign of success. I mean, that you're able to do that.
I don't know. I guess. Yeah. The 12-year-old.
Yeah, well, that's 12-year-old's a good age to stay at as long as you can in your life.
Yeah.
And we've been lucky to stay at a very immature level for a very long time. Avco not only makes incredible outdoor clothing, but they care about anglers with their 10% pledge. Avco and the Shed family donate at least 10% of the company's profits to conservation and making fishing better. Now back to the show. But one thing you're not good at, and I always give you a hard time, is retiring. I mean, dude,
didn't work
I
out.
tried to talk you out of retiring for 5 years. And it turns out you should have listened because you're not good at retiring.
No.
You're coming back for the classic this year, right? Bass Live.
Come back. Yeah, coming back for the classic and actually going to cover a couple more tournaments through. Yeah, wait, hold on. I'm gonna cover a couple events this year. So I believe I'm going to do Muskogee and the final tournament on the St. Lawrence River. Wrap everything up. So hey, I will tell you couple things along the line of Bassmaster. I'm very, very cautiously excited to see how the tournaments transpire. You know, when we did the coin tossing thing.
Why do you laugh at the coin toss?
Listen, it was at the time, it was the most preposterous idea. And then after we did it, I'm like, here's what I will tell you. And you, Dave, we talked about this. I've talked to Davey and Tommy and Mike about this. There are some of the most compelling storylines going into this season of any season. Like, I am so incredibly looking forward to watching the Gunnersville event.
Yeah.
Like, here's what's strange about that is now that we've lived in the world of technology for really the past half a decade, you rewire who is the favorite going into that tournament. I don't know.
Is there any of them that the coin toss? I mean, is there any of them that you wish kind of worked out another way? Is there one that you were hoping to go one direction and it didn't?
Yeah. I was really hoping that the St. Lawrence River would have been that was one, dude. I'd have loved to see somebody spinner baiting or throwing a bladed jig or a top. You know what I mean? That was the one where I was like, ooh, you know, and it was here's the other side of that coin toss thing. And I'm going a different direction. To me, it needed to be live so the viewers knew that it was legit. The tournaments that were going to get it, the tournaments that were not going to get it. That, to me, that was not something that somebody needed to do behind the closed door. You know what I mean? Yeah. It needed to be out front and personal and honest. It needed to be honest. So I will tell you, David, we talked about this before we started this podcast, is I think the Classic is the best venue in Knoxville of any classic. And to me, and I've been very vocal about, I even told Chase Anderson this after our last class. It's a horribly great lake to have a classic because you know that the weights are going to be tight, but it is one of the most painful bodies of water to cover live. Yeah.
Do you think forward-facing sonar will help that? I mean, because it was a thing last time, but it not to the extent that it is. You didn't have you look at some of the guys that are fishing this classic, and I gotta feel
they're good. They're good with it.
Yeah,
and a lot of those Tucker Smith and Paul Marks and Easton Fothergills that look, here's what's weird. It's been a very, very, very mild winter, but now Mother Nature has shown up in that region. If it is a cold classic, it's going to be dominated with it. It's going to be dominated with it, dude. And here's the other thing about Loudon and Tellico is if you really look at the two classics, the Ott Defo and the Gussie tournament, they both ran out of fish by the final day. Ott Defo got gifted an area from, I want to say it was Keith Poche. Yeah. It's been talked about. If you really look at that body of water, besides the tournament that Gussie dominated, the actual Elite Series tournament, all the winners of those two classics, they ran out of fish by the third day. That's what makes it. It is, to me, and Dave, we've talked about this, is that, and maybe that's great for a Bassmaster Classic, it is the most challenging lake to be consistent on day in and day out. Here's what I'm going to throw a prediction is I think whoever wins this classic has a little bit of both traditional forward facing, and then some fishing going down. So that's what I think will happen in this tournament.
How much do you think Gussie not being in the field will affect things?
Well, it's going to be a little bit crowded down there near that. It was the tournament that he won. It was crowded down there. And what was truly entertaining is you've talked about this at length with Gussie. Gussie is the nicest. He is the Easter Bunny. He is the nicest human being on earth. And I remember getting down to Knoxville. He was tweaked, stressed, aggressive when you would talk to him. Like before that tournament began, he was very vocal that there was going to be some people in his back pocket and he had a problem with it. Well, dude, you're the one that opened up that Pandora's box. You don't own the cut through between the lakes, bro. You showed the world and your competitors. Well, you knew what was going to go down, and here's what I hope. Gussie had some fish in Tellico, which traditionally, Dave, Tellico has not been a consistent player. It's always Fort Loudon's always been the most consistent. Can somebody crack the code and be left alone in Tellico? That's what I'm curious of that.
Well, we'll find out. I agree with what you said about the season. And I didn't, weirdly enough, the coin toss idea came up, and I think you kind of championed it, so it's your fault if you don't like it.
I said, well, let's just do darts. Bago.
But after watching the show, I sat and watched it just like everybody else. I hopped on for a few minutes to talk, but I watched it, and I honestly feel this. When that was done, and I didn't expect this going into it, because I knew we were going to have a coin toss. I knew as soon as it was done, I was like, it did its job, because I instantly had more interest in the Elite Series after that show than I did before. And that's, I mean,
Yes.
Gunnersville is everybody is pressure. I mean, guess what? The young guys that everybody has said can't catch fish without it, they got pressure on them. But so did the veterans, that everybody said, well, if it wasn't for this thing, these young guys wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So it is definitely going to be a very compelling season. I wish people would just be a little happier about it. I feel like 50-50 pissed everybody off.
Yes.
It
would have anything that was decided was going to piss somebody off, man. That's just I hate to say it. That's this weird world that we live in fishing right now. Smile. It ain't that bad. Right?
That's the freaking truth. That is the truth.
Yes.
Where do you think it ends up?
Here's one thing
Go ahead.
Here's one thing I'm very curious of with Gunnersville is every time that we go there, those cut throughs, those bridges that go over the lake, whether you're talking Browns or Spring or all the way by Goose Pond, they're always a very big player throughout the history of tournaments on that lake. Can somebody without forward-facing sonar shake a minnow and dominate, not looking at something? I'm very curious, because I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a few anglers that are going to push that bite in this tournament.
Yeah. I've heard that from some,
very curious.
Even like Champlain and stuff like that. I've heard from, there's people who feel like, guess what? I figured out stuff. It's not going to be the same, but I can still make that bite happen. Which is,
you only got to catch 5, man. You only got to catch 5.
I feel like it's going to feel weird for a lot of people, and even the non-traditional forward-facing. So I look at how I use it, and I wouldn't say I'm a traditional forward-facing. Like I am not Easton. I do not live on it. I still balance way more as a traditional angler, and I use it as a tool. But I always have it on, and it's a way to see edges. It's a way to. I feel like it's going to feel weird. I keep referring to it as like, it's kind of like a couple of years ago, the backup camera on my truck went out. I used to be able to hook up my boat, no problem. But for that month, I was 4 feet from it every time I tried to back up, and it was frustrating. And I feel like that's going to be the weird thing.
I'm curious to watch the tournaments without it and just watch the repetitive, just constantly, even though it's not going to be on, just from habit forming, to watch the kids. I call them the kids, I do. Their head just constantly. It's very. I think it'll be very entertaining to watch that.
Yeah. I saw a clip just yesterday, funny enough, and it reminds me of exactly what you're saying, of Tom Brady dressed in a suit and an overcoat. I think it was at the Natty, and he threw a ball and then instantly went down to put his hands in his hand warmer after he threw it.
I saw that.
That's what we're going to have. We're going to have a lot of people searching for their whoopee.
Condition.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be wild.
I asked, here's what's interesting is I asked one of our rookies. I saw him a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to get into who it was. And he went and practiced at Gunnersville. And I said, was it weird not using your voodoo box? And he's like, very, very weird. Right? I said, like the actual art of fishing, right?
Where do you think it ends up 5 years from now? Where do you think we're still 50-50? Do you think we go one direction? Like, just you personally, where do you think this all shakes out?
In some way, shape, or form, I believe we'll end up going one direction eventually. I do. I might be wrong. Um, I don't, man, I don't. It's so hard to answer that. It's weird because I've been on really, and you know this, and you have in a weird way too. So is Davey in a strange way. We've been on both sides of the should it be used, should it not be used, and stuff like that. Here's where I'm at, man. I let's come up with a direction and let's go. And I believe that will eventually end up happening.
And let's get to the point that we're back to respecting people for what they did. For what they, because you see an Easton and some of what he put up with after the classic. That is ridiculous.
That was absurd.
And
that's ridiculous.
He's not cheating. He's doing something within the rules, and clearly there's a skill to it, or else everybody would have caught up by now.
Yes, there is a very, very big skill to it. There's a reason why on MLF, Bassmaster, the same names dominate with it.
Yeah.
The same names over and over and over. And I've said this to you, Dave. I've said this. How can I hate it when I do use it in my content? I have 12 shows airing, and 3 of them I distinctly used it. Now I purposely get out of that box like you do and go frogging and go flipping and go docking. Just so I'm not constantly in that world. Here, but I also made this statement to you a couple years ago. If I did 12 mega live Zona shows a year, I'm probably going to go out of business. I'm just being factual. To me, the beauty of content, to me, the beauty of tournament fishing is diversity.
Yeah.
It's what this, you know what I mean? Is we've grown up, whether it was tournaments we were fishing or tournaments we were commentating, the word that's always been used is versatility. Man, I still love that. I still love versatility.
Yeah.
So
I think about conversations me and you have had when covering events. And I don't know why this one stands out, but there's been moments, a lot of moments over the years where you're just like, this is happening. And you're telling me you saw it, or I'm telling you I saw it. I mean, I think of Mark Davis when we were on Big Table Rock. Give me a little more, Mark.
Well, Boyd says.
But he was throwing a hard head, and at the time that was new. Like Tommy Biffle
told Table Rock. He was up in the James. It was open in a white.
But guys were throwing crankbaits, and he was throwing that behind them and catching 30 fish to their 5 fish. And I remember me and you being like, "This is." Like, that's the excitement to see something different, somebody who thought outside of the box. What's the...
Let me throw one
Please do.
Last thing in there. To me, what has always separated the good anglers from the best anglers is the sixth sense. Going down the bank, I need to fish that lay down. Going down the bank, I need to fish that dock. Or, wow, I'm burning and I need to switch up. I don't know. I feel like we, in some way, shape, or form, have lost a little bit of that sixth sense that was always very special in the Bassmasters. I think you're going to see it, though. I think you're still going to see it, especially in some of the traditional tournaments that we have this year.
Definitely. I mean, you watch Kioya, and he's a master, but he there's no sixth sense. Like it literally, you see him and it's all scanning. Like he fishes in front of takeoff a ton. And
Yeah.
but I also think, look out for some of these young guys. Like I know a lot of young guys have not fished with it almost the whole off season. Like they are putting in the work. There is one young guy that I correspond with quite a bit, and it was a day before Christmas or 2 days before Christmas, the 23rd. And I'm texting him, he's on the water. Like that is the work ethic that is, I think we're seeing it at all levels of the sport, but it's kind of an evolution of the sport. But yeah,
dude, them young dudes live on the water.
Yeah.
Like it's almost hey, I can't say, I mean, I live on the water, but that's a whole nother level that some of those young dudes are at.
Is that the sport evolving? Like if there was no forward facing sonar, those guys are still doing what they're doing. Like, I mean, I've used this analogy a ton of times, but I remember Steve Larmer, who used to play for the Blackhawks and the Rangers, and he was the NHL Ironman. I did like a charity event with him years ago. And I remember him saying, the NHL is not what it used to be. And I was like, well, how can you say that? And he's like, we used to show up to training camp to get in shape. Now these kids have dietitians and they work out all year, and it's not what it used to be. Is that happening in fishing?
No, I think a lot of the young anglers back when you and I started covering it, look, what ends up happening is life gets in the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's across the board. You see that, when you see success, you do start to see, when there is success, a little bit of backing off the throttle. You know what I'm saying? And there always has been a massive, younger dudes just spend more time on the water. That's what it is. You get a wife, you get kids, life gets in the way.
Makes sense. Avco not only makes incredible outdoor clothing, but they care about anglers with their 10% pledge. Avco and the Shed family donate at least 10% of the company's profits to conservation and making fishing better. Now back to the show. What is the best thing happening in pro fishing right now?
What is the best thing happening in pro fishing? I would. That's an interesting question. I think right now is the biggest transition of stars that I've seen in my career covering it. You know what does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was so awesome covering the Iconelli and Skeet and Aaron and Hackney's still competitive, but you're seeing, and I don't know, it happens in every single sport that there is. There is a transition of power. You got to see it in the NFL this year. I think that is, it's weird because in a way it's sad, but in a way it's awesome. And dude, there are some not only incredibly talented anglers, there's just some really, really good dudes that are going to be the face of this sport moving forward. And again, you see a lot of the stars that we've covered, and your viewers, that you've idolized them for decades. Things shift, and I think that's a great thing. And sad, but it's a great thing in the sport right now.
So if that's the best thing, what is the most destructive thing happening in fishing right now?
I've always said this: you want to see our sport. You want to see our sport get more. You want to see the anglers make more money. I've said,
Amen.
every time we have a meeting, you know, whenever I'll live by this. You want to see, does it take a big sponsor? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't work. I don't work, but I always tend to lean to the anglers, to not have to claw, scratch, and fight. That to see our payouts go up that way, the next decade.
Yeah.
What do you think?
About like what is the most destructive? Like to answer that question, or what do I think about paybacks?
What do you think? So now I'm going to go a totally different direction.
Please do.
And I know where you sit on this. Is I think the other thing is I don't know where I do not know where this negativity comes from. I don't know if social media breeds it. I have no idea. But dude, this is bass fishing. This is bass fishing. It's the best thing in the world. And you would think you just see these the hateful people that go away. Just go away. What must you be like at a party?
But I think I've honestly spent way too many days of my life thinking about this because I find it very frustrating. But I honestly think it goes to one thing. It's the first time in history where people are rewarded for being destructive. It's the first time in history where people are rewarded for being negative. Any other time in history, that dude who is doom and gloom around you all the time, you just say, I don't want you around me. But it's a different time, and it doesn't matter whether it's fishing, whether it's football, whether it's whatever. Prime example, me and Mike McInnes, obviously big Chiefs fans. We were talking the other day, and I pointed it out because somebody did a video online about how Andy Reid sucks as a coach. He should be put out to pasture. He's a horrible football coach. And I obviously disagree with that. But here's the truth. I clicked on the video. If that video was titled, Andy Reid is an incredible coach, I probably wouldn't have clicked on it. And that's how the world is working. Like, if I title this podcast, Mark Zona hates bass fishing, or Mark Zona's had it with bass fishing, dude, it'll get 10 times the amount of traffic as it does if you put a positive spin on things. And it's just, people are being paid, maybe not with physical money, but they're being paid with clout online to be destructive. And people have always disliked things. I mean, the forward-facing sonar there's people that hate Carolina rig, and they'll say, I don't like it. But you don't have the division and the divisiveness that we've had that we're seeing. But it's not just in fishing; it's everything, dude. Go to a restaurant and make a video and say we had a wonderful breakfast, but go to the same restaurant and make a video and say it sucked. The waitress had a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. The cook was doing drugs in the back. People, it'll get 10 times the amount of traffic. It just.
Let me give you one. This literally happened a couple days ago. I'm a decent smallmouth fisherman. I've designed a lot of rods for the way I fish, and I did a video, Dave, of my line of rods of why I like using a longer rod. It's for basically having leverage on a big smallmouth. I had a person disintegrate me, messaging me how I knew nothing about smallmouth fishing and that shorter rods give you way more leverage on a big smallmouth. And I'm like, this individual hated me. And I literally read his comments to me and realized he might be one of the stupidest people I have ever responded to in my entire lifetime in this industry.
But you noticed it. And that's what he wants. You noticed it.
You got it.
And how many people commented on that same thing and said, hey, man, thanks for the tip. Great tip. You've taught me a lot about smallmouth. You notice them, but you really notice the dude that And that's what that
and
dude
Dave,
wants.
And Dave, you know what a lot of my, and I can't say it on, this is a family podcast. You know what a lot of my responses are. And they're generally, and they're face to face. I don't do it. I don't do it in messages. I prefer to do that face to face.
Yeah, it's just but I mean,
Two words, and it's not we're done.
It's a weird time we're living in. But I mean, the truth is, dude, I mean, you look at what I think the most positive thing in fishing is right now is there's probably more young people fishing today than there ever has been. Ever.
Totally
and you can say that's forward-facing sonar. I think it's got more to do with the collegiate stuff and a lot of, I mean, but forward-facing sonar has a player in that. But again, as an industry, that's a good freaking thing. Like it's a good thing. There's a lot of good, and we need to start celebrating the good, if you ask me.
You know, that's a very good point. I just recently did the Detroit fishing show, the sports show up in Novi. And that is the one thing that I truly, truly noticed there was the amount of high school and college anglers. Dude, you didn't see that 25 years ago. You might see a dozen. I'm talking, there was hundreds of them. That was good. That's awesome.
And years ago, that one young kid that was really into it stood out. You were like, oh, wow, this kid, the keener. You know, I mean, I was that kid at one point. Now there's so many of those kids. It's pretty incredible. And I think that's a good lesson to learn too, because I learn it routinely. Like, I mean, the online opinion versus the in-person opinion is very, very different. Like, it's very different. It's very different. You go online and you'd be like, well, this sucked. There was nobody there. It was horrible. And then you go there in person, you're like, nobody here is hating it. Like, there's thousands of people here at this event, and they're excited about our sport. Yes. Weird. Do you think fishing's getting tougher? No. I think no. I think no. And here's why I say that is 2025. And now I go off of taping, but you know, I fish a lot. I'm going to answer that in two different ways. I think certain bodies of water have gotten tougher, but there are still hidden gems out there, bro. They're so out there. I have to look harder, but when I hit and I find it, it's as good. Dude, here's what I can say. 2025 was one of the best fishing years of my entire life. So no, but I had to do my homework a lot harder, but it paid off in big dividends. Well, and everything's out there now too. Like, I mean, you instantly, I mean, it's not even, I mean, mapping is the biggest adjustment to me. Like, everybody has every spot, forward facing sonar, but it's also like how quick you can, like, people used to have to come to the Great Lakes and it took them forever to figure out how to fish smallmouth. Now they can watch so much of it and see so much. Yes. Like, you can become an expert lightning quick. Yes. Talk to me about Bass Live. You and I have been lucky to be involved with it from the very beginning, from the night before it went live, and we both thought this will never work, to where it is today. What are your thoughts on Bass Live and the evolution of it and the product that it is today? It is to me, it is the number one teaching tool that I've ever seen in this sport in my entire lifetime. What you just said, and I've made this comment to you, if you watch Bassmaster Live and do not learn something, you probably should go bowling. Like, you are watching
the best in a given situation, giving you the, he doesn't even, I like when the anglers talk. I think some of our younger anglers need to work on that a little bit. um, but the other thing is, it is so visual where you could watch it and go, I got it, and I can go do that. Now that's from a total selfish standpoint. I've always said this: if I can steal one thing from every person I fish with, one little nugget from them, I'm gonna have a whole lot of nuggets. Bassmaster Live does that. It does it on lakes that we go to. Um, the, the the other side of Bassmaster Live. Now I'm going to go back to technology and stuff like, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way. The hardest tournaments for me to commentate throughout my 2 decades being there were tournaments that did not have diversity. One of those tournaments would have been when we've got 10 guys on camera sight fishing. The only diversity that you have in a sight fishing tournament is this dude's going to use a pearl colored creature bait and this dude's going to use a green pumpkin. That's the only diversity. You're basically bouncing from one angler to another angler to another angler that are all doing the same thing. What has transpired with technology is the loss of diversity. Dude, I want to see a guy cranking. I want to see a guy flipping. I want to see those. To me, those were the tournaments that when I walked in studio with Sanders, I was fired up to cover those events. We're going to see diversity back this year. You're going to see that, and to me, that makes the most compelling event as a whole is to have different flavors, man, different flavors on the menu.
I've run a Yamaha outboard for over 30 years. It has got me home safe each and every time. If you enjoy this podcast, remember, Yamaha supports it and they care enough about you to make this ad read very short. Now back to the show. Do you think, one of the things I think nobody gives some of the veterans credit for is how good they are with that technology. And I think one of the hurdles that they faced, it feels like straddling the fence, not knowing, like trying to keep that honest, but really, I mean, a prime example is growing up fishing tournaments on St. Clair and Erie. I hated the fact that Erie was in play. I was always like, I'd rather just figure out St. Clair and know that I don't have to worry about Erie, or figure out Erie. And I feel like that's been happening to a lot of our veterans where they're like, I'm kind of playing with forward facing, but I still want to do my traditional stuff. Do you think we'll see more veterans be a little more lethal with forward-facing sonar? Because, I mean, it's plain and simple. Event 1, you ain't using it. Event 2, you are.
Yeah. I think you're still going to see the same faces at the top of the leaderboard this year with it. I'm very curious to see the names of the leaderboard that are on the leaderboard in the tournaments without it. I want to, because a lot of the anglers I don't know outside of their forward facing. I don't know what their game
Not
is.
seen it.
And I think we're fixing to see it, which is to me very, very, very cool. Very cool.
All right, we're going to start a new segment to steal a line from Caleb Presley. Would you like to be a part of our new segment called The Awkwardly Honest Question of the Week?
Yes, I like that. I like awkward.
Yeah. What's an industry trend or term that is widely used that you think is total nonsense?
Game changer.
That's
Game changer. Swing for the fence. There's another one. Swing for the fence.
Yeah.
Those two right there. Those two right there. Half the bullshit that said is a game changer is not a game changer.
Is out of rotation the modern swing for the fence?
Say that again.
Is out of rotation the modern swing for the fence? I mean, you get a lot of guys who are like, I was on him, but I was out of rotation.
I got a bad rotation. Yeah. That's the best excuse ever. I've been in a bad rotation my entire life.
You and I both. Who do you get throughout your career? Who were you most excited to cover?
Hackney.
Why?
Hackney. It just mechanically watching him fish, and also there's two sides to that. Watching him fish and also knowing what goes on in Greg's head, there's some twisted things going on in there. Literally, I could watch Greg Hackney fish every single day of Bassmaster Live. I think he's one of the most naturally gifted anglers. I think the dude's just a hell of an outdoorsman that has the sixth sense times 10. Like he's got that it in the field hunting, it on the water. And it's something that I really, really, really look up to. I really look up to it.
Of the young anglers, let's say anglers that came along in the last 3 years, who do you get most excited to cover?
Easton. I think Easton is I think he's number one. I think he's a really, really good human. I like that.
Yeah.
I do like that. And the other thing with Easton, I think he is one of those anglers that is a sponge. Like that dude will text me and ask certain questions where I'm like, well, you're into it. You're into it in a big way. I have a lot of respect for that. Easton's. But I can also say, hell, I could say I think Tucker Smith is a naturally gifted. Like you look at him, we knew this. You know, I think he was in college for what felt like 13 years. I'm not throwing shade at that. I was. Is you knew when he came out of college, he was a lot like Jordan, where you knew when he came out of college that he was going to be a wrecking ball.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, we're going to meet one of the class.
Sleep now. I'm going to tell you. That kid likes his sleep too.
Yeah.
I mean, take a load off, boy. Grab some wood, boy.
It has hurt him in his career too. He would have
interesting
already.
Like a dude that likes sleep, that's a professional angler. That crosses the wires, man.
He does like to sleep.
So exhausted. I think that's why him and Aaron got along so good. Aaron had the most lazy energy I've ever seen. Like every time I would hang out with her, and he's like, "Bro, I'm just so exhausted."
It's true. It's true.
I'm so exhausted, bro.
It's true. It's wild. I got asked a question by Andrew Hayes, and I've never done this, but the question really made me think when he asked me it when I was on his show. So I'm going to rip off his question and ask you it because I had no answer, and I wonder if you do. When their career's done, Easton Fothergill, Trey McKinney, Tucker Smith, whose trophy case is biggest?
Tucker Smith.
Really?
Yeah. And one of the reasons I say, I guess the reasons I say that, and this is something I've talked about a lot on Bassmaster throughout the years, is I think he grew up in an area of the country that just breeds. You see so many looks on those lakes, those rivers down there where he grew up and cut his teeth. It's a Jordan Lee effect. You see the playbook, man. You see the playbook, and not only that, from deep clear water to spotted bass to largemouth bass, Those lakes in that area of the country, I think they truly breed the best fishermen. I believe that.
Where do you think this sport is in 5 years, 10 years from now? What's the future of professional fishing?
I don't think we need any more tours. I don't want to see it. I think there's so many tours right now. I think it's a little bit. And I know I don't think a little bit. I texted a CEO yesterday, and I think it's diluted right now. With there's hundreds and hundreds of professional anglers. I don't know that that's a good thing. Um, I would like to see in 5 years that there's one NFL, one tour.
You think that's a possibility?
No. No, I don't. I really don't.
No. Because I think even
Not
if
at
it
all.
did happen, let's say, the big meeting the fantasy meeting that everybody talks about where MLF and Bass join.
Nah, it's not going to happen.
No, but if it did, let's just say it did. There's going to be, you already have NPFL, you have different, there's going to be 3 other tours by tomorrow. It just seems like there are so many professional anglers now searching for a home that.
And here's the problem. Here's the problem with that is companies that sponsor and partner, they only have so much marketing money to go around. That's what gets diluted. What is the value of a professional angler right now? To me, that's the biggest question. And hopefully 5 years from now, it's a smaller, powerful group of true professional anglers.
Only time will tell. Where are you 5 years from now? Are you back to Bass full time by that time?
Guaranteed. There's no doubt in my mind. Tommy will be 84 years old. I'll be right next to it. The whole retirement thing worked out. It was a great idea till I did it.
Why are you coming? You just said earlier that this past year was your best year of fishing. And I know how much that means to you. So why are you coming back to Bass? Why are you choosing to do more events?
I don't know. I still love the game, man. I do. Yeah. I love the game. I love the crew. It was weird. Mike McInnes called me and he said, and listen, last year I covered St. Clair. Did I go to studio last year?
No, I don't think you did studio. Just St. Clair and the Classic.
I'm covering one more. I still want to, dude. I do. I want to be around you guys. Bassmaster is still the NFL to me. And the other side is I still owe Bassmaster. It gave me a place. It gave me a place that I loved. So,
what event?
We get Ronnie and Such to just tone it down just a hair.
Tell me how that works out.
It doesn't. I have a Jack Russell that is just like Ronnie. It's not going to listen.
What event are you least looking forward to this year? What one's going to be tough?
I think it's going to be tough, but I think it's going to be good. That Santee Cooper tournament, dude. When Santee is on, Dave, and I've gone there and I have fished with the best on that lake. When Santee is on, you only catch 7 or 8 bass a day. Now, dude, they're all this big, right? I think that will be that to me is one of those tournaments that is going to be a case of the haves and the have-nots, big time. Like, look, the cool thing is there's X Factor tournaments this year. You know, you can look at the Muskogee tournament I'm covering. That is an X Factor tournament. That is a hard body of water to get around, dude. I have been out there. I've been out there with Jason, and you can do. Here's what I will tell you: the service crew is going to be a little bit busy at that event. Yes.
Yeah, there'll be some obstructions.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to the Santee tournament just because it's going to be a time of year that we traditionally do not go there. There will be some more stuff going on offshore. I think, but again, I think that's a dangerous tournament to where you're going to see some 25 to 30 pound bags, and then you're going to see some zeros. So that's just what that lake is.
Well, time is winding down here, Z, but I got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
This can be kind of like therapy. What is the dumbest thing you've ever said on television? Because, I mean, I feel like people like you and I say dumb things for a living. But what stands out in your head like that you instantly said and knew, maybe I shouldn't have said that?
Oh, I never thought I shouldn't have said that. I don't think that. But there was one Bassmaster Live. I don't remember what the event was. The fishing sucked. And I remember I was just sitting there and I said, Tommy, would you rather be killed by Michael Myers, Freddy, or Jason from Friday the 13th? And Tommy was instant. He was instant. He's like, dude, I don't mess with Freddy Krueger, bro. He's in your dreams. And so it goes, you know me, dude. I don't mess with Michael Myers. I ain't messing. He just keeps coming, Dave. He keeps coming. So we literally had a 15-minute conversation about that. And then the comments started coming at me of, I thought the conversation was fantastic because I do think those things. I would say that was the dumbest crap I've ever said on camera is Freddy, Michael Myers, or Jason from Friday the 13th.
I don't think that's the dumbest. I think you've...
there's
been times you just make noises.
You're exactly right.
Not even words.
Again, predominantly when the fishing is tough. Boy, there were some tough tournaments where you go batshit crazy, and I just start saying stuff that not even in the realm of fishing. But some of those days were fun.
Yeah. I look back at the first few years of live, and I think we didn't know it at the time, but I'm like, that is some of the most fun we ever got to have because none of the cameras worked. I mean, all the stupid crap you guys would send me around town to do. Dude, America's Baby does not happen today. There's no way that none of that crap that you guys would send me out to do, because the only reason that was happening is because we had half the cameras that worked, and when they did, they were spotty. I mean, we don't get a chance to do that bonehead stuff, and I don't think today's viewer would allow it.
Well, let me throw one more thing in. There was one time that there was a hot mic during a commercial, and Sanders and I were not behaving, and somebody posts on Facebook, wow, the commentary during the commercials is way better than the actual tournament.
I'm actually amazed that hasn't happened more.
Agree. Hey, here's what the one thing in 20 years I learned. All mics are hot.
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah.
Well, Z, I'm excited to have you back at Bass. I mean, when you actually retire, what are we going to, how do we know I don't think people will believe you ever. I
say on my show, at the end of every show, 2 words, we're done. I am going to post on social media, we're done, and I am shutting everything off for good. And I'll be done. I'm going to post, we're done. And that'll be it.
I think that's a pretty fitting way to end this. Z, thank you for everything. You are an incredible friend. I can't thank you. I mean, I feel foolish, but I also feel foolish not saying it. I incessantly thank you for the opportunities you've given me in my life. And I feel like one of the things that is a pet peeve of mine is people that get helped by people on the way up and then they forget it. And they act like,
Why do
and
that
I will
daily?
never forget it. You're more than a friend. Thank you.
Dave, I want to tell you, one of my special memories of 2025 was literally walking out of Nicholas Van Damme's wedding as they're cutting the cake and hanging in a sports bar with your son watching the Bears-Packers game. What was not a memory of 2025. That was a memory of my life. I'll never forget Kevin walking up and he's like, ooh, careful. Don't do this, Z. I said, bro, it's Bears, Packers. I'm out.
And out you were.
I was. I know. I got a couple looks. Listen, I got a couple looks as I was leaving.
What was more impressive to me is after they won, and you, dude, I don't think I've ever seen you happier. You came back in the wedding, no more suit, dressed casually,
PJs.
just
Yes.
elated. And it's good to see the Bears fans elated.
There you go.
Hopefully, it's another great season next year. And I'll stop talking and I'll end it with your
best.
words. We're done. As always, awesomeness from Z. An amazing friend, an amazing human being. I mean, he's truly good at everything he does, except for retiring, as I said to him. I mean, and if you ask me, the only winner from that is all of us bass fishing fans that get a little bit more of Zona in our life. He'll be back at some Bassmaster events this year. And as he said, keep your eyes out for the Z-Cast. A little bit more Zona in our life. Be coming out in February on his YouTube. I will put the link down to his YouTube in the comments and in the description of this podcast. And do me a favor, go over there and subscribe to his YouTube. Thank him for being on the show because I love our conversations. They're just truly a lot of fun. Speaking of conversations, I would love to have conversations with you this week at the Toronto International Boat Show. Saturday, 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. in the Yamaha booth. Swing by and say hello. I look forward to seeing all of you there. And time to close this show, and we will close it as we close every single show by reminding you, everybody is fighting a battle. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Be kind, smile, spread happiness throughout the world. Kindness and smiles are contagious. You can do your part to make the world a better place. And not only will it help somebody else, but guess what? It will help you. Until next time, enjoy being, and as always, Bob Cobb, take it away.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?